You want to help intro the vlog? You want to help say hello to everyone? All right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Hey curators, welcome back for a new year, new episode, finally, of the Yarn Curator Knitting and Spinning Podcast. My name is Naomi. Welcome to my channel where I have not posted since August of 2023, and I also have not knit that much, but it's okay. It all comes and goes as does our motivation and priorities and all of that good stuff. But I've been wanting to sit down and film for a while. I had wanted to sit down back in October and film a little recap of a trip I took with my sister overseas to meet up with one of our other good friends who also has a podcast. Her name is Gemma B Makes. If you want to go check out Gemma's channel, and she is just a knitter and especially spinning extraordinaire. And so Zoe and I got to meet Gemma in real life, and so hopefully if I have time over the next few weeks, I'll sit down and kind of take you guys along on that trip with us. I did take a lot of video footage, but I didn't do a whole lot of in real time vlogging just because I wanted to enjoy the trip and the memories we were making and all of that good stuff. So yeah, if you guys are interested in that, let me know down below and I'll go ahead and make that video. But I thought for the new year, I should sit down and really show you guys what I've been making, which hasn't been that much. My knitting mojo hasn't really been here of present, but I've got a little bit of spinning, got a couple finished objects, and then I have the project that I'm currently working on because that's about all I have the mental space for at the moment, because life seems to have been busy the last few months. And in addition to that, John, my husband, and I have been doing a lot of home projects, and so that's kind of been taking the majority of my attention. So by the time I sit down in the evenings after work and making dinner and taking care of the dogs and all of that good stuff, I don't really have a lot of brain space or motivation left to then make things. And I'm sure a lot of people can probably relate to that. So anyways, as I mentioned, the last time I filmed was for the month of August. So I guess that's September, October, November, December. The last 4 months have not netted a lot of finished objects, but I'll go ahead and show you guys what I was working on. So the first thing I made is a hat, and this was a test knit for my friend Nicole, who is the Common Thread on Instagram as well as YouTube, and she does really pretty patterns inspired by Lord of the Rings and other kind of high fantasy inspirations. This is the Chiefest of Calamities hats. It is a pattern by Nicole Larkin York, who, as I mentioned, is Common Thread fiber. And so this was a test knit for her, and I knit mine using some leftover yarn I had here at the house. So the gray is John Arbin in the Nimbus Clouds colorway. I believe it's the Viola DK base. And then the light pink color is some very old vintage at this point Madeline Tosh DK. And I don't remember the colorway. I just know I bought it on a Ravelry D-stash. And I do have to say, my one complaint, and it's not a knock on Nicole, it's a knock on me, about this hat is that I made it a little bit short. I thought it would block out a little bit bigger, so kind of need to rip it out and then maybe knit not even that many crown rows, like a couple more rows around, and then redo the decreases. And I'm not going to put this on my head because my curls are drying and I don't want to mess them up, is the long and the short of it. Because if any of you out there are fellow curly girls, you will know the struggle of wash day and setting them just right so that you can get like 2 or 3 days worth of wear out of your curls. But overall, this was a really fun and engaging color work pattern, and you can see it's supposed to mimic dragon scales is the inspiration behind the color work design. So I opted for a nice low contrast, soft palette to make my hat out of. And yeah, on the whole, I really like it. But as I said, it's just a little bit too short. So I think just 1 or 2 more rows from where I ended the color work and begun the decreases. And that's an easy fix. I just haven't felt like doing it. And that's also why I haven't taken finished object photos or updated my Ravelry. So sorry, Nicole, for that one. But when I was working on this was when my knitting mojo really started to tank. And so after I finished this one, I really enjoy making socks for kind of my like socks. Oh, I hate making socks. I enjoy making hats, which is the equivalent of some people's sock knitting. And so I know like when I need just a little palette cleanser, or I just want something to work on that's not as involved or in depth as a garment or a shawl, I'll reach for hat patterns versus a sock. Oh, you're gonna sit right on what I want. So next up, I made a hat for me. This is a Slouchy hat pattern that's semi-self-drafted. I will not brag enough to say that I created it on my own. I will put the yarn info on the screen because I do not remember it off the top of my head, and I think I have long since thrown away the labels, but I just wanted a nice slouchy cozy hat to wear. As I mentioned, we went on our trip, so I wanted something that was just going to be casual, warm, and cozy in case it was cold while we were in London and then Amsterdam. And so I made it out of this really pretty kind of wheat tan color yarn. It's a nice light warm brown, and it's one of those yarns that is made out of like a chainette tube and then weft blown through like a mohair like fiber. As I said, I can't remember what the yarn is or anything because I bought it back around 4th of July weekend, and like I said, I have tossed the labels. So I knew what I wanted, and I wasn't really finding the pattern that matched what I wanted in my head with this weight yarn. And so when I was looking on Ravelry, I'm pretty sure I came across a pattern called the Slouchy beanie, something along those lines. I'll put the info on the screen as well. And so basically what I did for that pattern is I looked at their stitch count because the gauge was similar to what I wanted, and so I cast on, I don't know, like 86 stitches or something like that, and just did a 1x1 rib for about 2.5, maybe 3 inches, and then I just knit a stockinette hat until it was the length that I wanted. And then when I felt like binding off, I looked up a crown decrease and did that. And it was so long ago that I made this hat, I couldn't even tell you what the stitch counts were or what I did for the crown decreases. It was probably like a knit 2 together every stitch and then knit 1 round and then rinse and repeat till there was maybe like 6 stitches left, and then, you know, pull tight, loop through, pull, yada yada, bada bing, bada boom, you're done. Yeah, this was just a nice little palette cleanser, and I do kind of want to make another one because Mr. Yarn Curator, my husband, keeps stealing this one. We've had some really nice cold weather here. For those of you who don't know, I am based out of Florida, and I realize cold is a relative term, but we've had some days in the 50s and 60s, and with the humidity, they do feel quite crisp. I've been loving it. I have been wearing all of my knitwear, all of the mohair sweaters, any chance I can get. And it was actually cold enough the other day where I wore a shawl in addition to my sweater. So it was beautiful. But on these cold days, my husband has been stealing this because where he works, he has to go in and out of his office a lot. And so when he's been going out to do work, kind of outside away from his desk. It's been nice to be able to throw this on and stay a little bit warmer. And I did wear it on my trip, and it was great for those crisp, cool mornings as well. And then last but not least, for finished objects that I've been working on is my Putney Sweater. This is a pattern by Amy Loudon, and I finished this back in mid-September or so. I know I finished it probably a week or two before we went on the trip. And so this is knit out of 2 yarns held together. It's a pattern where you hold a fingering weight yarn with a lace weight mohair. And so I held my sister Zoe, who is her own YouTuber in her own right. She has her own channel and hopefully will be publishing something soon. If you guys leave a comment down below, let her know that you would like her to to publish as well. However, she also has her own Etsy shop with her hand-dyed yarn that she sells. And so this is knit out of her Hellebore colorway, which is a merino nylon fingering weight, and then it is held with 1 skein of some now no longer available Shibui knits because they decided to stop making yarn. It is their silk mohaired base on the plum colorway, I believe. And originally I was thinking I would hold these 2 yarns together to make the Whitmore sweater, which I've already made, and it's probably my favorite sweater, and I reach for it constantly and wear it all the time. However, when I swatched up the yarn and saw kind of the high contrast of the marl, I didn't love the idea of that with the lace pattern in the neckline. And so I have been previously looking at the Putney Sweater, which is another one of Amy's patterns, and decided I would go ahead and just make a really pretty marled version of that sweater. So the Putney Sweater is a drop sleeve garment. It's knit from the top down. And so you start out actually knitting flat. You cast on the back of the sweater, and then you pick up along the top of the shoulders and you shape around the neck. And then once you've done all your shaping and you've knit your arm depth, then you join in the round and work that until you're ready to bind off. The pattern does include some optional waist shaping, which I did add just to add a little bit more of a tapered silhouette to the sweater, and I did opt for a slightly cropped length. I don't actually love the length that I finished on. I've been debating, once again, ripping out the hem and knitting it maybe just even like an inch longer, and I think I'd like where that hits a little bit better. When I was trying it on and seeing if it was where I wanted, I thought it was ending right at the top of my hips, but it's a little bit shorter than that, so I'd like it just to come a little bit down a little bit more because I feel like it visually cuts me at an odd eye line when I wear the sweater. So it could either be, strangely enough, a smidge longer or a smidge shorter, but where it's hitting right now is not ideal. But I'm also a little bit lazy, and so I'm like, nah, it's fine. It hasn't stopped me from wearing it. And so yeah, overall, a really well-written, well-fitting garment, and I really like the garment shaping for the shoulders is different from the garment shaping around the neck. So you get a really nice fit around the neck and shoulders. And then I also read the pattern wrong when it came time to work the sleeves. And so I have a very gentle, tapered, almost balloon sleeve, and the pattern is written for a much more narrow sleeve, but I know I read the decreases wrong, and I should have done them much more often and rapidly than I did, but it's fine. It's just a nice, cozy sweater, and like I said, it was great on my vacation to be able to take this and wear. And I believe I wore this around Amsterdam one day. It was actually not as cold as I thought it was going to be in October in both spots, in both countries. I thought it was going to be chillier and rainier and wetter than it was. However, we got extremely fortunate with our oh my gosh, why can I not say the word weather? However, we got extremely fortunate with the weather in both countries, and it barely rained. It was cool in the mornings, and then it would warm up, and then it cooled back down at night. And so that was fantastic. And this was a great layering piece on that trip as well. And so after I finished these things, I just didn't feel like knitting that much. And so I sat down with my wheel for a couple days. So I actually ended up finishing my spin of this light gray Rambouillet roving. This is from Meadow Mountain Wool, which is a fiber company based out of Wyoming. And my parents picked this up a year or two ago on one of their RV trips out west. And they brought Zoe and I both back a pound of Rambouillet and Cormo. And I am just now finishing the Rambouillet. I have decided I am done spinning the singles, and I am just plying whatever has been spun because I'm done. And I think this is about 4 ounces that I have left, and I'm almost positive the pound we purchased was more than an actual pound's worth of fiber. So I'll show you guys the single here, and I still have more singles beyond this one bobbin. I was over plying, and as you can see, there's my end. So I don't know if you guys can see, but I made 3 very thin single plies. I don't know if you can see that, but that is the ply. It looks very light. And so that took kind of a very long time to spin each of these singles, which I have been doing on my electric eel wheel 6, because I can get a nice high amount of twist into the singles as I spin them. And I have been doing this as a 3-ply. So I have spun 2 bobbins worth of the single ply. So here's the second bobbin. I just haven't pulled this one off the bobbin to count my yardage. But here is one nice big fat squishy delicious hand spun hank of Rambouillet off of the bobbin. And I did this so long ago, I don't actually remember the yardage for this scheme when I pulled it off of the bobbin. However, I'm hoping either between math and or my own memory because I told myself to make a note in my phone with the yardage. I'm hoping there's a note in there that says the yardage. If not, I'll count this and say it is roughly equivalent to this one, even though there might be a smidge more on this bobbin than when I pulled this one off. But you guys can see here, it turned into a really nice 3-ply yarn. So as you guys can see, I got a really nice, light, fluffy, I would say this is a semi woolen spun yarn. And so as you can see there, and I would say this is probably fingering weight, bing bong. Sorry. So I would say this is probably a fingering, but we'll probably knit up closer to a DK weight because there is so much air in the yarn. I think it's gonna really So anyways, I think it's gonna knit up really nice and lovely. I just need to get a couple different size needles and do a few swatches to really see what we're working with in terms of the gauge. However, I am thinking some kind of garment to make out of this because the yarn is just yummy and bouncy, and I really like it. I'm not sure if I want to do something with cables that requires a lot of stitch definition, because as you can see in here, it does have some spots where it is a little underspun and not quite as consistent, but that is the beauty of hand spun yarn, is that you don't have this uniform mass produced product. So if you guys have any ideas for some of your, I wouldn't call them plain garment patterns, but just a simple pattern that is well written and well fitting, that just shows off the yarn in a really, not even thoughtful, but just that the yarn is the star of the show, and not necessarily the color work or something along those lines. And I don't mind if it's something a little bit patterned or textured. And like I said, potentially I've always thought maybe it's some kind of cabled garment. And so yeah, that's two. And then I probably will make one more bobbin. I can see my other two over there. And so this one and another bobbin are pretty equal in terms of the amount of single plies on it. And then the third one is a little bit chunkier. So I'll figure it out from there. It's either spin up the rest of the singles onto one of these, or I'll divide that. That is kind of up for spinning things. I thought I would show you guys as well the one work in progress that I've been working on, as the work in progress would imply. And this is the Habitation throw. It's a pattern by Helen Stewart, designed to highlight all the yummy mini skeins you can get either in an advent calendar or scraps or things along those lines. And so I am making mine primarily out of Zoe's advent calendar from last year, which was her Art Nouveau inspired advent calendar. However, I have thrown in a few mini skeins that kind of coordinate in terms of the colors from my Earl Grey advent calendar that I got 2 or 3 years ago now. And so I will hold it up for you guys. So here it is. I have slightly amended the pattern in that it's written to where you use 10 grams of your 20 gram mini skeins, and then you switch colors. I am just knitting until the mini skein is done and then going on to the next color. So as you can see, it starts in this very light kind of nude color, and then it is slowly fading from one color to the next. When I caked up this yarn, I caked up 9 skeins to start out of the 30 or so that I had pulled aside. And then John and I ended up rearranging our house, which is partly why I'm filming in here, and I will maybe talk about that later if I remember. But part of that was rearranging our guest bedroom, which is previously where I primarily recorded and where I primarily stored a lot of my knitting, spinning, and fiber equipment. And now that is in our sunroom / Florida room in our house. And so in the process of rearranging everything, I slightly mixed up the order because I had everything laid out in its progression as it was numbered and dyed in the advent calendar. And so some of the stuff in here, because the dark kind of cranberry color down at the bottom is where Zoe's calendar starts. And so some of that might be slightly out of order, but I'm also not too fussed with that. So I am about to start my 9th color right now. So this is number 8. And I have gotten to a point where the rows are really long and it's really kind of rapidly eating the yarn as we go. However, this is how wide it is, and I would like to get it to where It is my full wingspan across, so it's nice and cozy, and then I will start closing the rectangle back together. I have debated doing it where I would increase and decrease at one end so it's not getting wider but it's still getting longer, which we'll see. I'll make up my mind as for that kind of modification as I get to it. I mean, I definitely think it's wide enough now to where I could do that because it's, you know, I can sit on the couch with it across me. However, I'd like it a little bit wider, and every time I'm like, okay, Naomi, just start going steady with the width. I think future you will thank you, and this is nice and big and cozy. So don't be lazy now, put in the work on this end. That way you'll be really happy with it when you're done. So that is my Habitation throw, and we're about to move, as you can tell, into kind of darker, more moody greens, which I am really looking forward into getting into those colorways. And I have to say, I've just enjoyed working on this project. It's easy, mindless. I can pick it up and stop at any point. I don't have to remember really any kind of pattern or stitch count or repeat. It's just paying attention to when you throw in those eyelet rows, which is for my pattern, which I messed up and I've just kept from my initial whoopsie, is after the 5th complete set of going back and forth on the row. So knit one row and then knit back from the wrong side, and then you're on the right side again. That's one set of rows, so I do that 5 times. So yeah, that is my Habitation throw, and it's been good for the evenings when I'm tired and don't have a whole lot to give beyond just my hands moving. So that's what I've been working on, and then really quickly I'll show you guys what I picked up while I was on vacation. So that's what's hanging out in here. And so you can kind of see the yummy goodies within. So while we were in London, we stopped by Loop Fibre Studio, which is a very cute, very small, heads up if you plan on making a trip there, but it's a very small shop in, I believe it was near the Shoreditch area. And so walked around, and as I said, my mojo's been low, so I wasn't really feeling too inspired by a lot of the yarns they have there, but I did see that they had some yarn from the Border Mill, which is a fiber artist and mill that I discovered at UIF in 2019 when we were fortunate enough to go there. And I really liked the alpaca rose yarn that I got from them and made my prismatic snowdrift alpine something. I made a wool and pine design sweater out of it a couple years ago. But I really liked the alpaca rose yarn, and I remember as I was making that garment, I kept going online and going to their website and adding things to a cart, and I never made the purchase because it was expensive. So while we were there, I saw this 100% pure Shetland wool. So I got this 50-gram cake because I figured I can work it in with a lot of the other similar yarns that I have to this in my stash already. I have quite a bit of similar weight and colors in Biche et Bouche from the, what's her name, from the Marie Wallen. I purchased a lot of yarn to make the Yale cardigan and then was over it. And I frogged it. I've never looked back, but I have a lot of good non-superwash fingering weight kind of color work specific yarns. So I figured I can loop this in with that, and I'm thinking probably some kind of hat to make out of this really beautiful deep green. I have been really into this color lately. And then while we were in Amsterdam, we stopped at Stephen and Penelope. And so while we were there, I got some of his Westwool yarn. Oh, this is the yarn I'm making my t-shirt out of, so that doesn't go in there. But so while we were at Stephen and Penelope, which is also, again, a very small in terms of square footage yarn shop, absolutely socked full of yarn. So I kept going back to his bicycle base, the Westwool yarn, and no clue what I want to make out of this, but I put together a nice little color work palette to go together. Zoe and Gemma may have influenced me some in the purchases that were made. It was a mutually influencing type situation. So for the main color, I got this really deep purple aubergine color. And then for contrasting colors, kind of this scrummy lime apple green, as well as the gold, which I've showed you, and this kind of dirty blue color. And I don't know what I want to make. I think I got enough to make some kind of shawl. Maybe I'll just make something up. Maybe I'll pattern browse. Maybe she was born with it. So we'll see. But yeah, those are my recent yarn purchases. And then for Christmas, my parents gave me a little thing of spinning fiber within my Christmas present box package. So within my Christmas package this year from my parents, I received 2 skeins of this 50% merino, 50% tencel fiber, and this really pretty blue-green color. And so yeah, that'll be really nice. I have 8 ounces of this to spin and to play with, and I should be able to make something lovely. And this is from BJS Fiber Creations. And I haven't worked with this fiber blend before, so that will be a really nice learning experience as well. All right, you guys, so that is it for everything that I have been making or not making, depending on how you want to look at it, as well as some of the new things that have come into our home. As I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of things around our house. So in my last video or vlog, I talked about we retiled our kitchen. Now that the weather is cooler, we've been doing a lot of work on our yard, making that better for the dogs. So it's been a lot of weekends of slowly laying sod and building out those spaces for them. We've been ripping a lot of things out of the yard and just trying to make it as big and dog friendly as possible. The homeowners before us had just a lot of things that we didn't want. And so we've slowly been making the house ours now that we've owned it for about 5 years. And then also we've been doing little house projects inside to really make it the best space for us, because our home is only about, not counting the room I'm in right now, our sunroom, it's only about 700 square feet. So a lot of rooms do double, triple duty. And so finding kind of the most efficient / most practical uses for those spaces for us has been an ongoing process. We did try and hang wallpaper in our living room, and that was a massive failure. I was really looking forward to trying to like showing that to you guys, but that didn't work out. Now there's just a giant pencil line from where we initially lined it up and then failed. So yeah, that's kind of been life and what's been going on with us. It's just been a lot of home projects and staying on top of those things. I don't know if you can see the little bing bong right here. He beeps. Beep beep. Come here. Well, Bing Bong's not going to sit with me, but Eve will. But he's standing right in front of the camera. So yeah, it was Eve's gotcha day. We have her 1-year anniversary on December 30th. I'm actually filming this on January 1st. And then Bing Bong had his second birthday. So it's just been a lot of things going on. And, well, not that those are, they're major to me, but not to anyone else. And then work has just been busy. And that is mainly because we're now down to 3 people. So we're currently filling 2 vacancies. And so that has kind of been a mentally draining process as well. Just 3 people carrying the load of what would normally be 5, and 5 people in and of itself is not enough to carry the load. So it was already taxing before, but that's that extra layer of just kind of mental drain and tiredness. So yeah, I have some ideas for the channel moving forward in 2024. And one of them is a potential rebrand. I've got an idea of the direction I want to take this channel and the type of community that I want to try and build by creating this space and continuing to make these videos. So I will probably be making a video about that soon because I've got the name and everything figured out. I just need to do a little bit of graphics work for that. But yeah, that should be coming soon in the new year. I will give you guys a hint. It involves some more travel content because that is kind of, I wouldn't call it like my main priority in life right now, but that is where I think, and where knitting has partly taken a backseat, is that I am more interested in trying to travel and experience different places and different cultures. That's a little bit more of a priority. So that's kind of where I've shifted spending the little bit of disposable income that I want to spend on outside of saving for like retirement and all that good stuff. So I definitely spend more of my time, like if I'm like scrolling or anything on the internet, watching more travel related content versus more knitting related content. However, I think it's important to recognize when you have a channel and a community and a space on social media that, you know, whatever your niche is, that is not who your identity or personality is in its totality. And I think it's very easy in kind of these online subcultures to make that your entire identity. And so I, like everyone else, am a multifaceted person with a lot of different interests. So I would like to better fuse the knitting content with the travel content with some real life content. And so hopefully I can find the balance moving forward to make all of those things. That's the goal, at least. So I'll be announcing kind of that rebrand and what I hope that will look like here in the near future, if I can sit down and film. So until next time, you guys, let me know what your goals are for 2024, if you have any, what you're working on, any pattern suggestions for the yarn that I highlighted, any travel plans that you might have for the new year. I look forward to hearing them. And if there's anything you're just particularly excited about, let me know down below. And I look forward to talking to you guys soon. I hope you enjoy whatever you're making. I hope it brings you joy. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Bye.